The Start Your Own Business podcast. Hear inspiring startup stories and get reliable expert advice on how to start your business and get off to the best possible start. Brought to you by Startup Donut, helping small businesses succeed.
Hi there, thanks for joining us. This is the Start Your Own Business podcast. My name's Fiona Pryor and I'm your host. In this episode, we'll be talking about confidence. Now, some people you know have bags of it, and others will have little or none, and most of us are somewhere in between. Having confidence in yourself can enable you to achieve great things in your professional and personal lives. But when you work for yourself, having confidence in your business is essential. So why do people lack confidence in their business, its brands, its products or its services, and what impact can a lack of confidence have on your business? How do you build confidence in yourself and your business and communicate this to your customers? And what role can music play? Here to answer these and many other questions is my special guest, Debbie Green. Debbie is founder of award-winning Wishfish Coaching and Development. They deliver personal and team coaching to help people develop their mental, emotional, physical and spiritual wellness. Debbie is also the co-host of Secrets from the Coach, a career and wellness coaching podcast that aims to help listeners to maximise their potential in the workplace. But before we meet Debbie, let's find out a little more about PPL PRS, the sponsor of this episode.
Listen closely. That's what silence sounds like. Not just to you, but to the customers entering your new business. Without music, there's no toe-tapping rhythm for shoppers as they browse your latest products, or no upbeat soundtrack for customers to enjoy as they sip their morning coffee in your new cafe. Without music, businesses can often lack atmosphere, and things can sometimes fall a bit flat, which is where the music license can help. The music license from PPL PRS allows businesses to play music in their premises while ensuring those who create it are fairly paid for their work. If you use music in your business, you will usually require a license. By obtaining the music license, startup businesses can create an uplifting atmosphere and a welcoming environment by playing music from some of the biggest names through to new emerging artists that both staff and customers enjoy, all thanks to one license. The music license from PPL PRS. It's that simple. Start up by turning it up and visit themusiclicense.co.uk to find out more.
It's now time to meet our expert, Debbie Green, founder of Wishfish Coaching and Development. Hi there, Debbie. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome. I'm really happy to be here. So looking forward to our conversation.
I wanted to dive straight in and sort of cover the big question, really. Why is it important to have confidence in your business, your brand and your products?
That is so important. So there's a couple of things for me that enable that to happen. You've got to believe in what it is you're doing. I think you have to, it also people by people, I think. So you've got to know what you're talking about. You've got to have a passion about your business. You've got to build that trust with your customers as well. So, and also making sure that, you know, you have that confident communication around what it is you're doing or selling or being part of and things from there. And I think that's what makes the difference, because it can resonate with people. So if you can connect with people on a level that they go, I get that and I want that, then that's part of it. But you've got to believe in your business yourself. And I think you've got to know what your strengths are within your business, what it is you're offering, because as you say, it's the trust that enables people to come back to want to know more about what you're doing. So I think it's the cornerstone of success. So if you're not confident about your business, no one else is going to be. So own it is what I always say. Own your business.
Yeah. And if you've got a lack of confidence, how does that, you know, in your experience manifest itself?
Yeah, I think if there is a lack of confidence in your business, I think that impacts on how people then see you. Because if you're not confident in your own business, then they're not going to have the confidence in you. So I think it also makes that you can be quite hesitant when it comes to making good decisions about it. Sometimes if you're managing a team as part of your business, you might become quite micromanaging because you want to control everything, and you might avoid some risk or try new things because we've always done it this way. So I think the lack of confidence can stop you from then promoting your service, your brand, your product, whatever it is you're doing, which then impacts. So people might not want to, come with you because you don't believe in it as much as maybe you should. But I think the other big thing for me is sometimes that you can work so hard on your own business that you could end up with that, overwhelm and burnout. And I know that's a big thing at the moment, but looking after yourself as well. So to have the confidence to know that you don't need to work 24/7, you can have a routine, a boundaries. You can have normal in inverted commas hours that you're working, so that you're looking after yourself. And I think, that can stop you having the confidence. Also, if you're not, I think, receiving feedback, because I think one of the things we always say is, get feedback from the people that you're impacting on and listen to that feedback, because they are your end user ultimately. And if you're not listening to what they're saying or what they'd like, then you're missing a trick, I think. But that could come because you're just not confident enough to go out there and ask those maybe difficult questions, because none of us like to know that we're not good at something or we could be better. But that's how we build our business. That's how we learn and grow. And I think then the confidence comes because you can put things in place that enable you to fix it, whatever it might be for you. I think that's important.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting points there. I mean, one of the things in particular that resonated with me is about talking to your customers.
Yes.
We had Mike from Crimpit on a couple of episodes ago, and he was talking at great length about how actually they're a really important part of his business because, they come up with business ideas for them. They help promote the company. They're a mouthpiece.
Yes.
They share recipes and things. So talking to the people you're working with is really important for flagging the good stuff. But also, if you're talking to people you trust,
yes,
they can help you identify the things that you're not quite so good at and where maybe you need some support.
Yeah, I think that's such a good idea, because if you're in your business and you're working in it, and you're not always seeing what's going on around you, and you can be, I suppose, quite blinkered because it's your baby and it's yours. You don't want to feel critique, but I think having that open mind to embrace what people have to say about it, and even your teams might have a viewpoint. So, one of the things we always do is encourage people to have those conversations with their own team members. A very, open conversation that says, what do you think we're doing well? What can we do even better? So that but you've got to be receptive, I think, to hear what's working, what's not, because you can fix it. If you're the boss, you're the one that signs the bills, you have the control and the power, I think, to change it or amend it or pivot if you need to, because you can. So, and that comes from confidence, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And you said something there that sort of moves on to the next question I was going to ask, really, is about, I think we can all think that we've got to get everything 100% right before we put it out in the world.
Yes.
You've got to have a fully finished product or a fully formed idea, and that actually, for most of us, that's not realistic. If you do that, you procrastinate and you never get anywhere.
Yes.
So it's important to not let that undermine your confidence, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think that's it. It will never, ever be perfect. I think nothing is perfect. It's always about progression. And you've got to start from somewhere. And I think when you start with something, you can build on it and add to it. But if you're just waiting for it to be absolutely perfect, like your marketing, your website, your email addresses, all of that stuff, you could still be waiting because you can absolutely. I mean, I look back at my website and I could probably change it every single day. But that's not going to help. So I think that progress over perfection is probably better than trying to make it perfect before you launch. Because it will never be perfect. There's always things that will add to it or evolve, or you need to change, and you might update some of your products or your services. You might have a rebrand because you've you're becoming more sophisticated in your market.
Yeah.
So I think, take the pressure off yourself. It will never be perfect. Sorry to burst that bubble, but yeah.
And I think the reality is when you're first starting your first business, there are often 101 things that you've got to do for the first time that you've never done before.
Yes.
And so there are many things that you've got to learn, and that learning curve is steep. So there's lots of things that you've got to sort of get right.
Yes.
But like you say, it's better to get some of them on the road and in progress, and you can come back to them later.
Yes, definitely. I think that was the one thing that when I first started my business was I had no idea about how to even set a company up. So I was learning as I went, really, and using other people who had set businesses up. So not being afraid to ask for help and say, look, you've done it. How did you do that? Can you share with me what some pitfalls are? And I find that I sometimes get asked by coaches setting up their own businesses for the first time because they see all this marketing around, you can earn $10,000 in a month. And I go, no, you can't. So you have a realistic, realism to go, I can support you with what are the things you might need to consider. But those fundamentals, I think you just have to get in place first. But it doesn't mean you can't work on what your offering is at the same time. But seek help. I think that's the other thing. Use people that have had some of the downfalls and some of the mistakes I made, when I first started back in 2005. I'll go, oh my God, if only someone had been there to help me. So I think it's, again, not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to reach out for help or support, speaking to maybe your local bank manager or your business advisor, whoever you've got, your accountant. My accountant was amazing. So I think it's finding the people that will steer you in the right direction.
Yeah. And I think often for small businesses, it's other small businesses who've walked that path that can give you the best insight. Obviously you need the support as well of people like your friends and your family, because when you're starting a new business, it's long hours and you need them to support you on that journey. But, sometimes the best advice you can get from the people who've had their fingers burned making mistakes and who can save you making a similar mistake.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I found that's really been helpful to new coaching businesses to say, don't do what I did. Here's some hints and tips, and they go, oh my God, thank you. Because if it saves somebody making those mistakes, why would I not help and share that guidance or that advice with them, so you have an awareness, because it can be scary stuff to step in and create and start your own business, right?
If you're coming from a background where you've had the security of a monthly wage and sick pay and all of those other things, to suddenly go, I'm stepping away from all of that, and you're now plowing your own furrow.
Yes,
it is nerve-wracking. Lots to learn.
Yes, lots to learn, definitely.
So talking about being confident, what would you say are the best ways to communicate your confidence in your business, your brand, your products? How can you put it out there that, this is me and this is great?
Yeah, I think use really clear language and be quite direct with what it is you do. Write what it says you do on the tin. I think we can sometimes maybe get caught up in trying to make it sound bigger or more articulate, but actually just be who you are. I think that's super important. So using that clear and direct message, avoid some jargon, because that's the worst thing, because not everybody understands your world. So you've got to enable people to understand it. I think also for me, it's about showing people what you do. So not being afraid to share maybe your success stories, or if you've got some case studies that you are super proud of, I think, let the world see them, because people will look at that and go, well, if you've done it for them, you could do that for me. And that's what you want, right? To grow your business. So I think for me, being really authentic and genuine, that comes across in your brand as well. And making sure you're going to be delivering on what you say. So this, don't overpromise and then underdeliver. Sometimes we need to flip that around. So I think consistency is key at all the touch points that people might connect with you. Is there a consistent message? Is there a consistent feel or an energy about you that people can pick up in, your website, your email address, your, LinkedIn profile, your Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is you're using to promote yourself? is there a consistency in how you show up on that? Because I think people then trust you. Goes back to what we said earlier. And that authenticity, I think, is really important because, like we said, people buy people. And if you're fake, people are going to see through that. So be you is what I would say.
Yeah, own it.
Own it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Own it.
And what role does music have to play within that when you're trying to communicate your confidence in your business?
Oh, I love this question. I think it actually says a lot, actually, what you choose to pick. I think it's that bit around the atmosphere that you want to create and the overall feel and the vibe that you want to create in your business. I think it can communicate confidence as well because you've got a bit of a personality around it. I was thinking of some of the advertising you see on the television, those little earworms that get inside your ear because you remember them. So,
yes.
The one that always resonates, even though it's like the Go Compare advert, not to, I don't support, but there's plenty of other insurance companies out there. But that little worm, it sort of just is there. So you know exactly what that is. So you go, oh, they must be credible. And I think it also can enhance employee engagement. I think that's quite nice. It can influence the customer perception of you and what you bring and what you do. And I think being able to pick the right genre of music can make a big difference as well. Because, some people, like, I think there was a time, wasn't there, when there was always music playing in the supermarkets, and then for a part they stopped it and people asked for it to come back. So it was that light-hearted sort of easy listening music that you could hum along to buy more products. So so I think it's picking a genre that works for your area of the business and your customers and things like that. So yeah. Excuse my cat, she likes a Zoom call, so
why not?
She likes to be a part of it.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
I was thinking when I was doing my prep, I was thinking about this. I got married in Las Vegas many years ago.
Nice.
Now, and there was something that was kind of in the background in all of the hotels. They all had slightly different music playing.
Yeah.
They all had slightly like different color themes and decor and smell, and it all sort of comes together to create, this is who we are as a venue, or this is who we are as a business.
Yes.
And so I think you're absolutely right about, making sure you pick the right genre of music. What do you want it to say about your business, who you are, what you're doing?
Yeah.
And in the same way that you would if you're considering, what your logo looks like and what your website looks like and the functionality and this, it's not just about your product or your service. It's the big picture of who you are.
Yeah, I think you're right. And knowing what music resonates with you is a bit of an extension of you as well.
Yeah,
so,
your personality.
Yeah, and people can pick that up. So, if you're not a heavy rocker metal person, then don't have that music playing because that will engender a different vibe and a different energy and a feel. But it doesn't say you can't. If that's, if you happen to be, I don't know, in a casual diner, or you happen to be a record shop or a retro shop that's selling and you want that energy, then I think pick that. But again, it's being mindful of who your customers are and what you're trying to attract. How does that demonstrate who you are? Whether you have music playing all the time, not all the time, how loud that music can be as well. I think it can have a good vibe to it as well. You feel like, oh, this is good, this is high end, or oh, this is nice and gentle and calms you down. And you only have to go into a spa, right, to listen to that lovely music they have, and you automatically go, oh, I feel safe, I'm in a cocoon, because the music is saying that to you. So I think it enhances your unique style. I think it definitely gives people that experience, which is what they're looking for when people want to come to you. They want to experience you. So music is for me another avenue that you can exploit really as well.
Yeah. So moving on, if I lacked confidence in my business, what sort of damage could it do?
Oh, that's a good question. Lots is quite a lot. I think it can lacking confidence in your business can mean that people don't know who you are. Again, it shows that you don't believe in your business, which is not ideal. I think also you might be unclear on what your value or your proposition is that you're putting out there. So there might be this fear of failure. I think imposter syndrome can come into it when you're setting up your business. Like, why me? What if it all goes wrong? What, because I don't know the industry enough. So there are so many things that can play in our minds that can impact on that belief that you have no confidence or lack of confidence in your own business. And I think that's sad because you started your business for a reason. So build the confidence around it. And I think any of those questions that you have, explore them, look at them. What is it that you might think you've got imposter syndrome around? Who says? So I think ask questions, get feedback from customers or your friends, family, just to hear that. So they go, no, you go and do it. I think that's the thing where you might have tried it in the past and it hasn't quite worked. So I think, don't just give up. It just might not have been the right avenue or the right time. But again, open yourself up to see where you could improve, and people will tell you, do it. I'm so glad you've gone out on your own, or you've set this business up because you're amazing at that. So I think listen to what people are saying to you about it, because if they believe in you, then you've got to start believing in yourself as well.
Yeah, and I think there's, question why you've got imposter syndrome. Why am I? What's causing me to feel like that?
Yes.
Because there could be things that you can address very quickly and very easily. If you're feeling doubt, where's that coming from?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the I'd starting to identify, I suppose, where it is coming from, what's creating that thought within you, because your thoughts will drive how you then feel, then drive how you behave. So if your thoughts aren't in a good place, then you'll feel anxious, or you can't do it, or I'm not good enough, or whatever the narrative is that you might have. So we need to flip our thinking and just change that thought. And when we're working with people, we say, so is what you're thinking true, logical, or helpful? And it will be no, no, no. Okay, so let's think differently about it. So I think being proactive, I think, is super important. Act quickly if you're not feeling it, as we always say. Look at what that priorities could be. Develop your action plan. I think look at what is causing it first, but then look at how you can overcome that. And don't leave it. I think that's the biggest thing. I love some of the organizations that you see that will go, well, you said, we did, and they go, oh, okay, that business is listening to us as a customer. So I like that. So they come back because you do what you say you're going to do for them. So I think it's get some help, seek support if you're not sure. And I think that ability to reflect. So at some point in your financial year or your business year or whatever you call it, is to build in that time where you can just reflect on what's gone before, how have the last 3 months been, what's worked, what hasn't, how could we improve, what are our customers saying, and then go, what do we want it to do? Do we need to pivot, or can we stay, or do we need to adjust slightly? So I think that review and reflection is so important. And it's something we don't always do as business owners because we're so busy trying to build the business. But it's like I was in corporates for ages, and that old adage of, was it review, plan, do, review, whatever that. And it was like, oh yeah, we don't often do that for ourselves when we come into our own business. But I think that reflection, reviewing it, and then replanning and doing can make a huge difference to assess where you're at, I think.
Yeah. And I think for many people, they start a small business because they've got a passion, because they maybe want to change their way of life. They, want more flexible working or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And looking at what the business is doing for you and going, well, is it delivering what I wanted it to deliver for me? It's not just about, is it delivering what you want it to deliver for your customers?
Yes.
But because if it's not doing it for you, your heart's not going to be in it as fully, I suppose, as if it's all, I'm loving this, so
I think you have to have a passion for what you're doing. I think I suppose some people do a complete career transition and go from one industry they might have been working in to go, I'm going to set up on my own, and they go into something they have no knowledge about. And I just think, wow, that I couldn't have done that. I thought I have to step into something that I know and I love doing, because then it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like I'm slave to my business. It feels like, oh my God, I love it. Every day I get up and look forward to what I'm going to be doing, because you have to be passionate about it and you have to believe in it, because as we said earlier, people buy people.
Yeah.
And if you're not passionate about it, why should they be? So, yeah.
Yeah. So, in your
Mhm.
experience, why do people lack confidence in their business or their products?
Oh, that's a good one. I think because they think they're going to be caught out. I think there is an element
Mm.
of maybe somebody will suffer, will find me out and know that I can't. Also, I think some people feel that there is a need to perform to a certain standard and a certain level, and they're not sure if they're quite there yet. I think sometimes they can be quite isolated, and not seek the help around them for some
Mm.
reason. Having worked with various people, they think they have to do it all on their own. And I said, no, you don't. If you're not a social media expert, then if you can invest in somebody, why would you not? Because that will
Yeah.
save you so much time. But I think we
Yeah.
sometimes put the hat on that we have to be all things. Like I would
Yeah.
never. I mean, I started doing my own accounts at the very beginning. Oh my God, that was my whoa. I soon got an accountant. And whilst it was like an expense, I think that was the other thing right at the beginning. It felt like it was a lot of money, but it actually wasn't, because when you sort of work it back, it didn't mean, I mean, they did in like 3 hours what I was taking probably 3 weeks to do. So,
Yeah.
and then keeping myself awake at night because
Yeah.
I was just worrying that, oh my God, what if the tax man comes and gets me? And it's like, how, what, like, so invest in the experts.
Yeah. You've touched on this slightly already, but I wanted to go perhaps into a little bit more depth really about if you're lacking in confidence as a small business
Hmm.
owner, what can you do? What can you do about that? What support can you get?
Yeah, okay. I think first of all, look at what it is you want to achieve. So set yourself some the good old SMART achievable goals. So what are your mini wins? I think also having a plan of action can make a huge difference if you have like what I always call a 90-day plan or a rolling 90-day plan. So again, taking that time to just think about what is it I'm going to work on as part of my business rather than in it. So lifting up and looking in, I think, can make a big difference. So set yourself some small achievable goals, celebrate them. Please celebrate the goals. I think
Yeah.
also identify, I suppose, any of those negative beliefs or limiting beliefs you have about yourself as well. I think listen to that inner dialogue that's going on. Is it helping or hindering you? So, and then challenge that way of thinking. So using positive affirmation, looking at what you have achieved in that week, that month, that
Mm.
day. I think also to build again your knowledge is, invest in knowledge, just keep learning. And so you can have a broader perspective of what's going on in your industry. And for me, it's always really make sure you're still prioritizing your own self-care and your own wellness, because you cannot run on empty. And I know it's normally we have to work hard. And I think
Mm.
I've worked harder in my own business than I've ever done working for somebody else. But luckily, I love it. So it's not a big
Mm.
thing. But if I hadn't prioritized my self-care or put in some boundaries, that can lead to you falling over and not being at your best or chasing after stuff. So being able to
Yeah.
prioritize is really important. So I think, yeah, looking after yourself is really important to make sure you rest. Make sure you're eating properly. Don't just sit at your desk or in your office or stand up all day if you're in a retail outlet. Move, do something different so you can look after you in the middle of all
Yeah.
that. I think also people sometimes beat themselves up because they've done it wrong and they
Yeah.
feel like they failed. And I always encourage people to look at it as an opportunity to learn. So embrace
Yeah.
that. That's how, we all learn by making mistakes, right? But don't build yourself up because of it. I think just say, okay, I don't really want that to happen again. What can I do differently next time? So I think there's some self reflection, and have people around you. I know you touched on that earlier. have that support of your family or your friends or like-minded people or those that may be sharing that business dream with you. Have a really good network around you, because they will be your raving fans, and they will notice if you are maybe not your best because you haven't rested. And they're probably the first to tell you, are you sure you're not working too hard? And you go, no. And you go, they go, I think you might be. So listen to what other people are noticing within you, I think is super important. And be kind to yourself. You know, just because, as you said, you know, you might have set up your business having worked for somebody else and you had holiday pay and everything else, but when you're on your own, you don't don't work, you potentially don't earn. So I think, how can you be kinder to yourself? How can you recognize where your business trends are? So, you know we have quieter periods throughout the whole year. So is that a good time to go on holiday? Yes. So why would I not? So I think it's being realistic, sensible, because you cannot run on empty. And if you are, that knocks your confidence and makes you feel like you can't. And that's not a good place to be.
Yeah. I want to flip things on its head
Go
now.
on.
We've talked a lot about having a lack of confidence. There is also the other side of the coin, isn't there? And we've come across people in our business life that are, how can you put it politely, but people who are well endowed with confidence.
Yes.
That can be, in some respects, just as damaging, I think, can't it?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes is the answer to that. It super can be, because one, they can be a massive turn off. And I think also some people, some that are overconfident in what they're doing, can potentially run the risk of not seeing what's actually in front of them. They're not open to maybe look for alternatives. So they're quite narrow-minded and blinkered to it. And so therefore they ignore the risks. They're not seeing them because they're, I suppose, too arrogant to even want to see them. So I think that's something that overconfidence can bring. I think not listening to others' input as well, that ignoring the feedback because you think you know better. It's my business, I know it. And it's like, oh yeah, I know you know it, but listen, because that attitude can alienate people, I think, because it just shows you're very close-minded. I think also that overconfidence can mean that you can take on too much too fast. And then you haven't necessarily done your due diligence, and you've expanded your business so rapidly that there's creaks that start appearing because you maybe haven't got the right processes in place for it. And you're playing catch up all the time. But again, too much too soon. That's it. I was trying to think what the word is. So thank you. And I think resistance, that can lead to resistance for growth and change if you're overconfident because you think you know it all. And we do not know it all. So, and I don't think I'd want to work with somebody who's super arrogant about their business or too confident, because it just turns, well, for me personally, it just turns me off a bit. I think, you're too full on.
Yeah. And I think it can give customers the impression that actually there's no point asking for help or giving you feedback because, it's a brick wall that they're talking to.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, you've seen that with, large organizations that have shut off the high street, right? That, did they not listen to their customer base? Were they, not really listening to what that end user needs? Had they forgotten who they're serving? I don't know. I mean, I wasn't involved in any of them, but there's a reason why they've disappeared off the face of the earth, and that these smaller entrepreneurial, solopreneurial businesses are listening to their customer. They are making changes because they can. They're not expanding so fast that they are investing so much money in it that they haven't worked out what the cash flow is. So, I always remember my dad ran his own business, and he always said, whatever you do, that was his piece of advice to me, whatever you do, always focus on the cash flow.
That's a good point to lead into the final question, which is to ask you if it's at all possible to round up the 3 tips that you would offer to someone who's new in business about how they can develop confidence in themselves and project that confidence about their business.
Oh gosh, 3 tips. Okay, let's see if I can narrow that down. I think for me, the first one is knowing what you're offering. What is it that sets you apart from somebody else? Now, it might be something in a similar genre or area that you're working in, but nobody is you. And that's what makes you unique. So being really clear on who you are, what is it, and how you then communicate that, I think is super important. So you're building a story behind you as that unique value that you're offering somebody. So I think do your homework on yourself. I think that'd be my first tip. Come up with your story, what sets you apart, and then make sure you're articulating that well to the world outside. I think for me, the second one would be keep connected to your customer. Get that feedback. Listen. Oh my gosh, that's our biggest thing. Listen to what is being said, but also listen to what isn't being said. So I think that's regular engagement, checking in. How are we doing? Not being afraid to ask. Recognizing, I think, as part of that, what you are hearing that you're doing really well, and then how you can lift and build on that to be even better than you were. I think that's super important. And for me, coming from this background, it's always about investing in continuous learning and development. Being able to learn from others, expand your own expertise, practice your resilience skills as well, because there will be setbacks. But actually how you operate in that moment will help you. So I think, invest in continuously learning. I think we're always going to be learning, and the minute we think we don't know it, that's when we get stagnant. So always look, there's always opportunities out there that you can build on and learn from others. So for me, invest in yourself, and focus, if you like, on the wins that you're having because of that. I think it was a bit more than 3 tips, but
we'll take that.
We'll take that.
It's a Brucey bonus.
A Brucey bonus. Oh, I like that.
That's fantastic. Before we let you go, Debbie, can you remind listeners where they can find you, where they can find your podcast, where they can find the business?
Yes, of course. So you can find us on wishfish.org.uk. So www.wishfish.org.uk. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. I'm now a TikTok user, thanks to my son, which is at Wishfish Coach. So you can find me there. On LinkedIn, I'm there as Debbie Green, and there is also a Wishfish Coaching and Development page on there. And then the podcast that I do with my colleague Laura Thompson-Stavely is called Secrets from a Coach, and you can find us on all those normal platforms. And we also have a website that is the same, www.secretsfromacoach.com, and you can see what we're up to in what we're doing in relation to our podcast as well, which I think we recorded episode number 208 last night. So and we just love them because it gives us a chance to provide knowledge share, learning, guests to people that may not have a huge budget for learning and development, but we try and aim it at people who don't have that in their own organization, to tap into some of the practical things that we give about working. So yeah, that's how you can find me.
Fantastic. We'll make sure that we add all of those to the summary notes that will accompany the podcast. So thank you so much for your
pleasure.
Time. It's been really fantastic to talk to you. Great fun.
You too. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care.
Well, that was great fun. I've really enjoyed my chat with Debbie, and I hope that you have too. I think if we're honest, most of us will admit that we struggled with self-doubt or imposter syndrome at one time or another. And when you're starting something new and unfamiliar, it's natural for those feelings to be heightened. But when you're the face of your new business, it's important that you can project confidence in both yourself and your business. So hopefully Debbie's given you some useful strategies here that will help you feel more confident. You can find links to Debbie in the summary notes at www.startyourownbusinesspodcast.co.uk. And you'll also find some handy resources from across the donut sites that can help you on your startup journey. If you're enjoying the Start Your Own Business podcast, please spread the word so we can help even more business owners. All that remains is for me to say another massive thank you to Debbie for her time today. And until next time, all the best.